So welcome everyone. My name is Ken Reardon. I'm a professor in chemical and biological engineering here at Colorado State University. And I'm very excited to be introducing you to this special session and orientation on the student challenge events that we're organizing throughout the next few months and culminating in a big cyber challenge event that I'll tell you more about in a moment. But the purpose of today is to introduce you to the idea of what a cyber challenge actually is. And for that, we have some special visitors. But let me first go over to the calendar of events. Thank you. So today is an introduction, like I said, kind of a primer about what this is all about. And in about a month, there will be another event to develop skills of the teams that will form around this, and then others throughout over the winter. And then there's a spring challenge event, the weekend of March 26th and March 27th, where the teams will work together over the course of a weekend on a cyber challenge. And so to tell you more about what this is all about, we have 4 experts from the Biohacking Village. And I'll introduce you to Nina Ali, who is the executive director of the Biohacking Village, and she'll introduce your team and we'll get started.
I feel like that's my cue, so I'm going to start talking. So, hi, Nina Ali, executive director of the Biohacking Village. I can talk more about myself, but that is not worthwhile. We are going to talk about the other awesome people on this panel. So, Sharka works at Dreamlabs and she is the CTF lead. And among other things, I am going to do a thing where you guys talk a little bit more about yourselves because that's who I am as a person and love putting you on the spot for things. Jasmine is a mobile security person that works at Disney, thankfully, because, you know, mobile app is like the last thing everybody thinks about. And even more the things that people don't think about, policy, which is where Whitney sits. She's also my chief of staff. So a little bit about the Biohacking Village. I have run it for the last 7 years, and my background is in healthcare and particularly hospitals with devices and its IoT connected things. So just from the experiences that I've had watching how the medical systems have struggled and evolved over time, the Biohacking Village went from 9 talks and 2 demos to 5 different labs. The speaker lab, where people come in and talk about their emerging threats, cool new things that they worked on or are working on. The medical device lab, where people come in, the medical device manufacturers come in and they bring their wares and they say, break my stuff and tell me what's wrong. Then they go ahead and fix it. Also, we have the Catalyst lab, which is more of a hands-on learning place. And this year we also brought about the tabletop exercise lab, which was phenomenal in itself. It's very Machiavellian, where things level up as you talk through the problems and you have to try and figure out the anomalies, saving all the people and the patients and healthcare itself. And then we have the Capture the Flag. So Capture the Flag, in its very small, just a small description so that the conversation can grow, is it takes you from super novice to the dark web. So conglomerate of things, leveling you up as you go. I'm going to drop it over to Sharka to continue this conversation.
Okay, I'm gonna take the baton. I think that in your fashion, I will first explain a little bit about me. So I am, by what it's more like night. Yeah, I'm here in Switzerland, so it is a little darker, but in my free time I volunteer for Biohacking Village for the CTF, and I run a team of amazing people. 2 of them are sitting here, wherever you see them. By day, I am a security consultant, more on the offensive side. I started as on the defensive side, regarding British critical national infrastructure moved to more offensive. So I switched the tables. My approach is different, where I'm more on the attacking side, still an ethical hacker, so still for the good side of things. I am also, you could see my expertise revolving around anything about social engineering, physical security, industrial control systems, and I am also a patient researcher. And now I will pass it on to Jasmine.
So hello, everyone. So my experience is a little unique. So 2 years ago, I was a participant in the CTF, and it was my first time hearing about the Biohacking Village. So as Nina mentioned, one of my interests is mobile security, but by day, my foundation is in web application security. So I work at Disney as a senior web application security engineer. So I decided to do the Biohacking Village because I was like, oh, this seems kind of cool. You know, I never heard of it. And so I tried it out. And then last year, I became an admin and created challenges for the mobile challenges for the past CTF. So yeah, my experience is a little different, as I was a player and then I, started to develop challenges. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Jasmine, and we will look a little bit more into that experience of yours. But before that, Whitney, tell us about yourself, please.
Sure thing, thanks. So if Jasmine's is unique, mine might be a bottle of whiplash. So sorry. So I'm Whitney Zaskin. I currently serve in a role as the Chief of Staff with Biohacking Village. And I have a really short security bio in which that was all of it. I actually have about 25 years worth of experience that stems from working in clinical obstetrics and gynecology and running a practice in the Appalachian Mountains, all the way through to being a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grantee and running a couple of initiatives, including notably the Flip the Clinic initiative, which worked across the country and a little bit globally to just help practices identify the things that were broken in their medical practice processes and create small $20 fixes to just try to make life in medical care a little bit easier to deliver on. Last 2 Augusts ago, I was chatting with a friend of mine, and she was chatting with me about DEF CON, and it was about my 5th or 6th year of having a friend chat with me about DEF CON. I had heard of the Policy Village in the past. I have a really good friend in college, colleague over there that I have been lucky enough to do some crisis work with. It was just one of those moments of, I've got nothing really going on that week, so let me see what this thing is about. And she said, well, I'm doing a capture the flag team and you need to be a part of it because you know things. And I was like, okay. And that is how I found myself downloading widgets to like break open raw data files and do random things because of the tasks that were assigned. I am a project manager and systems thinking kind of organizer human on my regular platform of my existence. And it was a really cool experience. I frequently talk about it going from an analog hacker to a digital hacker. As a patient with a chronic condition with asthma and allergies at a level that are absurd compared to what you're probably picturing in your life. It is an area that I have been consistently aggressively trying to quantify myself and get my information to my clinicians in a different format to change the care that was offered to me and find ways to live my best life. And I'm really thrilled to say Biohacking Village is a part of it. I met Nina that strange week in August 2 years ago now. And it was just really exciting to be a part of the team this last year and work with Sharka and Jasmine and build out this CTF and see the heartaches on the other side of things and keep navigating through it. But I also will add, I have 2 teenagers, and I have since passed on the CTF passion to them and started them at some of the teenager versions of things, thanks to Jasmine's recommendations with the Diana initiative. And it's just been a really exciting space to test your brain and your problem solving skills. So Sarka, back to you.
Okay, so to explain you maybe a little bit more into detail what the capture the flag really is, as Nina mentioned, and probably what you're getting so far is you're learning, and it really is that, but it's for us because we feel like the CTF that we are doing, it's really where we pride ourselves. It's helping people understand and let them learn. So you will find a combination of challenges that are non-technical and the technical ones. As far as I know, you have both sides of the non-technical and technical. So it would be good if you can, for example, create a team that have both. But it's not necessarily, you can still learn. We will go through a little bit of the experiences, but there are challenges such as you will be learning about some of the acronyms that come from both sides. You will be learning about the tools that you can use. For example, if you capture a traffic between two devices, we could be talking about a PAX server that is storing your X-rays or MRIs, and it's talking in DICOM, which is a protocol that it's using. You will find these captures that you can start looking through, and we will explain you how to do this. So you should not worry at all. But I think it's a first thing that I would probably ask Whitney. So as someone who didn't necessarily have a technical experience, what were your fears and how you dealt with them, and if you would still recommend someone to play it and try it?
Yeah, I was pretty adamant that I had no clue what was going to happen when I went into it. And I was successful in that assumption. I went into it just sort of figuring I'll learn, I should know more about this anyway. I'm curious. At that point in time, just as like a generic John Q. Public, there had been a lot of conversations about data breaches and privacy breaches and some of these things, but the headlines always seemed really sort of fantastical and bizarre, and there's not really an action item when you get told that your information is taken. You just kind of get to read the headline and go to bed at night and wonder what that means. And so I came into it with a little bit of curiosity and a lot of just enthusiasm to try something new. I had 2 real world applications that came out of it. And it's why I tell folks to stay engaged and stay mobilized. You know, to Nina's comment, I do a lot of work in the health policy space. I live right outside of Washington, D.C. It's something that I've been involved in for 20 plus years. And, also by happenstance, it's my neighbors, right? So like, it's a little different out here. But I do chair a nonprofit charitable pharmacy called NovaScript Central. And through the CTF, identified some of the basic stuff and was able to, reach out to the charitable pharmacy and say, hey, do you have this type of machine? Can you check and see if they've changed some of these protocols based on the manual? Because I'm looking at the manual online and you should hear what I just did in this CTF thing, and walked them through the challenge that was part of the CTF and escalated for one of the major hospital systems here that supports our event space, some security concerns, and got to go to a meeting for that. And then also, it was so funny that you just mentioned the DICOM files. So as the team knows, I was super lucky and got to go through shoulder surgery in May because it got slightly disconnected from my dog. And in the process, I was able to receive my MRI imaging file, which I know a lot of patients have a really hard time getting, but I was able to get access to it and boot up a computer from like the dark ages with a CD-ROM drive so that I could extract the file. And I ended up using the software reader that we used in the CTF challenge to be able to open a free version of that MRI file and send it to a couple of other physician friends for second, third, fourth opinions. And so there are very real reasons why a totally naive human should join a CTF. But I also love that it's challenging professionals in the space like Jasmine and setting up opportunities for them to further their own skills as well.
Definitely. Actually, one of the things that we are trying to work on is a simple health literacy. We are trying to provide people tools and knowledge to better to have better tools, but also processes, and know a little bit more about how to decide correctly, be more informed about their own health. So it's good to do things for others' health, and because that's what you're learning about, but it's also good to have and be able to take really informed decisions. I would Jasmine, not only that she joined after the first year, straight away she joined the team and she was working on our own Biohacking Village COVID tracker in it, but she was also speaking. So Jasmine, tell us a little bit about your experience and a little bit of the adventure that you took.
Yeah, so I talked about it a little bit. So in 2019, it was like the beginning of, well, the beginning of COVID. So it was like, you know, DEF CON was virtual, and normally I go to like the Red Village, AppSec. You know, I'm a creature of habit, so I only go to the villages that I know. So I told myself, I was like, I'm going to go to a new village, and I looked at all the villages, and I was like, oh, this biohacking one seems pretty interesting. So I went and I was like, you know, I'm going to do the CTF. And so in the beginning, I was like, the original goal was I'm going to place. I just want to place on the board. I just want to solve a challenge. And so as I was getting more into it, it was so much fun. Like, as Whitney said, the challenges were fun, challenging, yet engaging, right? So keeping you wanting you to learn more. And, you know, at the end, I think I might have spoke with Nina or I spoke with someone. And I was like, you know, because I thought it was simulations, like the devices, because, you know, they were very insecure. And it was like, no, these are real devices. And it's just like, oh my God, this is a real problem. And, you know, so that was my start of like, you know, hey, I want to learn more and provide my expertise into this space. So going in from a player and to actually creating challenges, this was like my first time creating challenges. I've always played, and it was like I wanted to create challenges, but I was like, I don't know. But, you know, having the space and allowing and giving me the space to create challenges was really good, and hearing the feedback from the participants was good as well. So and then, you know, presenting my talk as well on like medical security and things of that nature. That was good as well. So it was like I went all in after the CTF, and most people will do that as well. And I think Nina had something. I saw her like right there, her hand. I think she had something to say. I'm putting you on the spot.
That's my favorite thing. So one of my challenges to the CTF team and the Biohacking Village team generally is, what are we not thinking about? Because there's been so much conversation around devices, right? Everybody talks about devices as being the whole and the thing that medical is run from. And that's not necessarily true, because when you walk into the hospital, it's not this device and then this device and then this device. It's the whole network that is chronically under attack. So I have two masters. One is in informatics and the other one is in translational medicine. And when I think about these things, it's systems of systems. It's the body, right? Your stomach lining is not the same as your musculature. They're two different things. They have two different functions, but they're in the same body. Same concept when it comes to healthcare. The devices don't do the same thing, but they need to be secured in their own way so that there's isolation from part A to part B, but that they can still have conversations and get to be really helpful for the patient and the physician, because those are the two people that we don't necessarily have so many conversations with about, what does this look like for you? What does this feel like? How much information do you need? What do you not need to know? How do you care about things? So when during our calls with the CTF, it's, what are the devices that people see? It's the infusion pumps, it's the beep beep machines that everybody on TV always has, but there's so much more to that. There's the x-rays, the CT scans, it's the back end of stuff, the biomanufacturing that you just get the pill from, you don't know how it was created. So it's things like that of continuing to challenge the entirety of the system and continuing to challenge each other to have the conversations that maybe mainstream isn't having.
And that's why Yeah, and that's why we need people like you guys, the new blood that's gonna challenge everything. And that's really it. I would really ask anyone to approach it with that sort of like challenging mind and learning new things. But I would say that a lot of people are worried that maybe it's too difficult, that it might be too technical. So let me maybe break down some of the stuff that you can encounter. So here we are talking everything that we have there. We will try to prepare for you in this like a smaller blocks that where we will be building your knowledge. So really don't be afraid. I will just now mention some of them. So we have, for example, challenges that are about misinformation and disinformation, teaching you how does it look like when you, what's the difference? How does it look like when someone that you care about is presenting you an obvious misinformation, and how do you deal with it? How do you teach them? How do you protect them, because you need to protect them from information that is not correct. Other stuff that we have there, it's obviously anything. If you come from cybersecurity, we're trying to teach you some of the healthcare acronyms. If you're coming from healthcare, we are teaching you some of the cybersecurity stuff. We are explaining, for example, different cases of different breaches. So you get yourself, it's almost like you starting to understand a little bit better this complexity of it. So it's not, as Nina said, it's not only the devices and the devices that people know, it's also the software. We are talking about SBOM, that's your software bill of materials. So that's like anything, it's like an ingredient. So you want to know if an ingredient in your food has gone bad, right? So it's same thing for your medical device or your software. So you need to be aware of this. But then we obviously are going into some other challenges, such as we actually built a darknet forum. So obviously we would not let anyone go to the very deep and dark depths of internet, but we built one that sort of gives you the same amount of understanding, because we built it with CTI leak that is actually working in that space. And we built challenges to make you understand how does it look like when we find respirators that are being sold on darknet, and what do you have to go through to find more information about it and learn from it. But as as Jasmine mentioned, she did that amazing mobile challenges. We also have some of the other challenges we had in fusion pumps that you can exploit and hack into and understand. You need to approach it with the mind of a hacker. And that means that you're exploiting or attacking things in order to understand how they work. And that is really what we would like you to learn as a mindset of a hacker. So I would like to now ask both Whitney and Jasmine, what are some of the maybe like a newbie CTF player recommendations that you would give them? And it doesn't have to be technical, maybe even just a mindset. Jasmine.
Yeah, so the mindset is just, just have fun, just go in with an open mind, right? When you're learning something new, it's easy to get frustrated, very easy to get frustrated. So trust the process and enjoy the journey. A lot of times people just focus on the destination without really paying attention to the journey, right? So pay attention to the journey. And when you solve a challenge, write detailed notes, because what you'll realize is that when you do other CTFs, the same concepts will come up, and I'm guilty of this. So I'm saying this as someone who is very bad with documentation, right? So it's like CTFs, you'll start seeing patterns with CTFs, and then it's like, you'll know it's like, oh, I did a CTF and it reminds me of such and such, but you don't have good notes. So it's like, you can't reference, right? And have a guide. So definitely, if you solve a challenge, no matter the challenge, have good detailed notes, right? And, document your journey, whether that's, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, but, share your knowledge to the community. Even if it's, CTFs that people have solved, it's something that my friends and I say, everyone has their own sauce, right? So you have your own sauce, and, the way you solve a challenge might help someone behind you to learn a concept. So share your knowledge.
I love
you,
that.
Annie.
The documentation definitely would have helped me. The team that I was a part of my first year sent me a DM during the CTF this year, and they were like, "You're the one that solved this one for the team. How did you do it?" It was a year later, guys. I don't know. But that said, I think when I initially logged in and looked at the CTF and had to, get on a VPN and do all of these things, right, to even just be a participant in the CTF initially, and sort of read through the first set of posted challenges and tried to pick where to go. It was really easy to get very overwhelmed with all of the different types of programming language and file names and company names and product location things and manuals and all of this other stuff. And then I started to realize, sometimes series of the keywords could go into Google, and you could kind of start to piece together ways to learn how to do the prompts and learn how to do the pieces of code or the command lines. And see, I don't even really know what they're called, but the little bits of things and the action items. And that was a really big moment for me to realize that, sure, like from where I sit, it was in a foreign language. And I always think about, a patient facing like a major medical diagnosis. It's like 6 visits deep before the clinician and the patient are sort of talking with the same number of syllables and depth of conversation, because initially the clinician starts to talk way super high echelon of conversation and expertise. And that's kind of how the CTF felt to me too. I logged in and I was like, what did I do? And I got more and more accustomed with it and more familiar with what I was trying to do or what I was trying to execute on. And it just became, troubleshooting and problem solving in different ways, in different directions. And so, about 15 times the first attempt wouldn't work, right? And you just have to keep trying and trying and trying. And that's also when I learned how to use Discord and keep going to folks and asking for advice and tips and connect with others. And we made our little rogue working group and stuff. And I think, Jasmine's comment is exactly right. Like, document it so you can keep learning from it. But also document it so you can stop at the end of 3 days or however long Shark is allowing you to play. But document it so that you can look back and be like, holy smokes, I did all of this. Like, this is a very real thing that I did and I accomplished and I achieved. I think it's a powerful thing. And I have to also add, one of my big takeaways was just how much I was able to quickly respond to some things because they were sort of, to me, general knowledge from being in healthcare or health policy, right? Like, I can tell you what the P in HIPAA stands for and that there's not 2 Ps in it. It turns out a lot of my cybersecurity colleagues don't have that information and knowledge. And so it was kind of a cool opportunity to sprint through a couple of things and feel like I had my bearings and all of that kind of stuff. And I assure you, there are about 1 billion other things where you know a vocabulary word and I don't. But it made for a really great couple of days of activity.
Awesome. I really like the recommendation of not being scared, writing things down, not feeling discouraged. Also, just to let you know, we have the team that you're seeing here. There are some of the people that are going to be there for you to help you with the CTF. So really, that's how it's built. So we will not give you the answer straight away, but we will point you to the right direction so you understand and you will find a way how to learn on your own, and then you will have those holy smokes moments that
I was going to say, that's a great note. Jasmine and I learned this year that we could have gone onto a tip thread and gotten some little tips and pointers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe ladies, you just like the torture too much, but for our students, there is a help and to anyone, and we really pride ourselves on this. So I believe that there is going to be information on and more information when exactly it's going to happen. Maybe Nina, famous last words for people that want to try.
I think if, for the most part, right, we do really good hand-holding for people that walk in and try to help us at the Biohacking Village. It's very much a team sport. So whether it's coming in to help with the CTF or giving a talk or just playing the CTF during one of the cons, there's always somebody that's going to be like, you can do this. Try one more time. Try this. Do the thing. If you don't get it after like 14 tries, yeah, we'll help you. But it's that, again, it's that journey of what you take to get to it. And if the answer is completely wrong, it's still right in the way that you did the research and you tried and the effort was there. And then we can maneuver around it because everyone also learns in a different way.
Thank you all on behalf of CSU. Thank you to the Biohacking Village team for giving us this primer today. I think this was really helpful to get students, introduced to this concept who maybe haven't explored it before. And we're excited to see what the activities will be throughout the fall and the spring, and the culminating activity in the spring. So I just wanted to thank everyone again. For those of you that are going to be watching this later on the website, since it will be recorded, note that there is the chat box has some email addresses and ways to contact the Biohacking Village team. You can also go to our OVPR Cybersecurity main website and find information on how to contact people and the different student activities that will be ongoing there. And then it is 1 o'clock. So I'd like to invite everyone also to head on over to our Cybersecurity Symposium that's just starting now. That'll be going till 5 p.m. You fill out the registration form, get the Zoom link immediately sent to you, and we'd love to see everyone there today as well. So a big thank you to all of you for helping us introduce this topic to campus today, and we look forward to the many activities throughout this year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We see you there.
Bye.